Good afternoon. Let me just make sure that I am live. Hope everybody's doing well today. Okay, looks like we are live. So good afternoon, everybody. Carol Buckalew with Inky Bee Stampers, and I am a Stampin' Up demonstrator. I didn't have a video last week, so I'm hoping everyone had a really nice Thanksgiving. We had a very quiet Thanksgiving. There was just 5 of us for dinner. We ate too much food, but it was nice and relaxing. Hey Mary, thanks so much for joining. So today's card is, I'm calling this a box fun fold. And did my video freeze? It looks like maybe the video froze, possibly. Let me just refresh it here. Okay, I think we're good. Hi Rosie, thanks for joining. That was weird. It looked like the video froze. I'm not sure why. Yep, okay, very good. So I was kind of fooling around the other day. I was trying to accomplish something else, but I came up with this card. And so I'm calling this, for lack of a better term, and maybe it already exists, I don't know. These measurements are mine, but I'm calling this a box fun fold. And it consists of kind of 2 card-based units. And then I've got a blank panel on the back that I've stamped on, for an additional sentiment and, a place where you can write. So let's get started. So I mentioned that this card takes, so I see my video buffering and I'm not sure what's going on. It's back now. Okay. Well, hopefully you guys can follow along. So anyway, I've got 2, card-based pieces here. This is kind of the card base. This would be the box piece. And the card base is a standard 5.5 by 4 1/4. No score lines on this piece. And then the second piece is going to create our box on the front of the card. And this measures 5 3/4 by 4 1/4. And I have scored it at 3/8 of an inch, 1 3/8, 4 3/8, and 5 3/8. So we have 2 little tabs here, and everything is a mountain fold on this. But these little tabs are going to get, folded under, and I'll apply glue. But before we do that, let me just talk about the stamp sets and the products I used today. I used the Christmas Light stamp set, and primarily just this medium-sized snowflake right here. I used the Twinkling Lights dies, and I've got it out right now, but I'm using the large die of the snowflake here. Hi Faith, thanks so much for joining. And then I've used the Brightest Glow for the sentiments on the card. The Christmas Lights and Twinkling dies, or Twinkling Lights dies, are going to be retiring at the end of this year from the mini catalog. And so starting tomorrow, products, select products on the retirement list from that catalog, you'll be able to get up to 60% off of some of the items, not everything. But if you see something you like, or you've kind of been eyeballing something in the mini catalog, make sure you grab it up quickly, because these products that are retiring are only while supplies last. And you can get the retirement list on my blog today, and I'll be featuring it again, probably not tomorrow, but on Friday for sure. And then the other product I used, and I didn't get the whole big packet out, but I used the Snowflake 12 by 12 specialty vellum, and there's 3 different designs and 2 sheets of each design in the pack. One three of the designs have like a iridescence to them, and then the other one has like a raised kind of velvety feel to it. So that's the one I'm using for today. And yes, Mary, thanks so much for reminding me. I am offering an ordering special with the last chance product sale. I will be offering double honey drop rewards points. And you can read all about that on my blog. But essentially, if you place an order with me at a certain dollar value, you will get double the points. And then when you get up to 16 points, you get to choose $40 in products from any current catalog. So it's a good deal. So just saying, you know, if you're looking at some of these last chance products, you know, make sure that you take advantage of that special right now. So what I'm going to do first is I am going to adhere this vellum to our box card base first. And I'm going to do my darndest not to get glue. You don't want glue or adhesive, if you can help it, to show through the vellum, because it will show through. It's not a huge deal if, you know, if you maybe get a little halo, and I will for sure. It's just a hard thing to do. And especially with this, you know, I don't know what, on these little dots, I'm trying to conceal my glue dots, you know, behind the snowflakes basically is what I'm trying to do. And just make sure I have enough coverage to make sure that the vellum is going to adhere. But I'm going to go ahead and put this largest piece on my center panel here and try to get that lined up and even as I possibly can. All right. And it looks like I didn't do too bad with the glue. And then I have two smaller panels. And all of the dimensions for this card are going to be on my blog tomorrow. And tomorrow is the Happy Inking Crew, Happy Inking Thursday. Yeah, Happy Inking Thursday blog hop. That's a mouthful. But that blog hop is tomorrow. And so this card will be featured on the blog hop. So be sure to stop by. The Happy Inking Crew is my team, and I'll tell you, we have some very, very talented demonstrators on our team, and so you can be sure to see lots of inspiration on that blog hop. So I hope you'll join. You know, if you stop into my blog first or wherever you start, I do have links provided to the other blogs, so you'll be able to easily navigate around. And we'll get this other little skinny panel on. Painstaking, these tiny little drops of glue. Okay. And we're going to put this other panel over here. And it's not too difficult trying to get this panel glued down, but the trick to this, to get this panel adhered to the other card, I've got something here, hold on just a minute. I see something, whoops, I'm not sure what that was, okay. It's not too difficult to get this panel adhered to the base at all. But one of the key things is, and I'm going to grab a pencil here, what you need to do is you need to mark, and I'm going to use my grid paper here, hopefully you can see, I'm not off screen, but you want to mark a 1/4 inch. I'm just going to just very lightly mark my card base here at a 1/4 inch on the left side. And what you're going to want to do with this card is you're going to want to fold I'm just looking to see, this is the 1 3/8 inch score line. You want to fold that score line under. So our little tabs, if I kind of fold those in, our little tabs are going to, you know, get adhered to the card base this way, if you can see that. So I want to turn this 3/8 of an inch tab on the right side under, and I want to bend at the 1 3/8 here on the left side. And I'm going to flip this over, and I'm going to run just a thin line of glue down these tabs on the underneath side. And then very carefully, now remember I made a 1/4 inch mark here on the left. I want to line that crease at the 1 3/8 inch up with that 1/4 inch mark, and then adhere my tabs down. And let me just make sure that everything is flush. This box panel is as high as the card base. So just give that a minute to set. And we should, whoop, it wants to come up. Let me grab my bone folder and just give it a good press inside here to make sure that's going to hold. I know I have plenty of glue. It's just a matter of it getting set up. I think we're good now. Okay, so that is essentially our card base, and I like it because it's freestanding. So this is a great fun fold for showing off pretty designer series paper, pretty die cuts. So anyway, so that is the card base. And we've got 2 more vellum snowflake panels to glue on either side now that we've attached the box portion of the card. So let me get those on. So tomorrow, the last chance products, become available to customers at up to 60% off. But Stampin' Up! Also is refreshing their clearance rack tomorrow. And so you'll be able to get some good buys on the clearance rack as well. So you definitely want to check that out. And let me just, see, I can't do 2 things at once here. I need to focus when I'm lining up my little strips here. All right, there we go. Got one down. Let me get the other one. So lots going on this month, and just in time for Christmas. So if you have crafting friends, keep them in mind for gift ideas, because they probably would really appreciate receiving, some crafty gifts. Let me get one more little dot up here. All right. And you can fold this box out of your way. That actually is probably what I should have done. Makes it a little easier. Okay, there we go. So we've got all of our vellum adhered. The next thing I did with this card was I already die cut the snowflake from the Twinkling die set, but I just, and it makes such a, this is one of my favorite items, and by the way, this is my favorite color, the Orchid Oasis. But I just cut a die, cut a snowflake using the largest die from the Twinkling die set. But I wanted to show you the 2 die pieces because to get this snowflake, you actually need the large outline, and then you need this insert as well to die cut that snowflake. I just wanted to show that to you real quick. And so we are going to go ahead and adhere our snowflake to the center panel here. And I've got some little mini Stampin' dimensionals. And we'll go ahead and just get these placed around. And of course I'm trying to be careful to make sure they don't show. I'll double check it once I turn the snowflake over. And I like to support these little arms on the snowflake. They're rather delicate, and if they bend right at those points, you definitely can see that they've been bent. So just be gentle. Be gentle with the snowflake. And I'm like the dimensional queen. I really am. The more the merrier. I got one more here. Alright, I think that's plenty of dimensionals. Let me just make sure. See, that snowflake just bent. Let me make sure this one I can see. Whoops. And I don't think I fixed it any better. No, actually I think we're okay. And I'm just going to take all of these dimensional covers off, trying to not bend my snowflake points. Had I thought about it, I probably should have cut this from thick cardstock, basic white cardstock. Make it a little bit sturdier. So just a thought. I'm having trouble seeing which covers I got off and which I didn't. Actually, if you turn your piece to the light, if it's shiny, the cover has been removed. So that's a good little tip. All right, let me, so I want to adhere this snowflake on the center panel at the top, maybe about 1/4 inch from the top edge, and centered left to right. And just, okay, that looks good. All right, now we can do a little bit of stamping. So for the outside of the card, I have the sentiment, to you and yours this Christmas, and I'm going to stamp that in Orchid Oasis ink. It is a pretty snowflake, Faith. I just love it. I've actually used it quite a bit. And as I mentioned, these dies and this stamp set, the Christmas Light stamp set, are going to be retiring. And I'm going to be sad to see them go because I've really used this set a lot. I've loved it. All right, let me just test my stamp out and make sure. Looks like it's straight. And we can go ahead and put this on our sentiment label. I want to try and get this as centered as possible because we're going to do a little something extra to this label here in a minute. I'm going to give it a second to dry. And while I have the ink out, I'm going to go ahead and stamp the sentiment on the this will be the panel on the reverse side of the card. And this one says, "May the peace of the season light your world and may your new year be the brightest." And this came from the Brightest Glow stamp set, which I believe is going to be sticking around. Something on that side. Got a little spot of something there. All right. Okay, there we go. And somewhere, right in front of me, this is the small snowflake from the Christmas Light set. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to stamp this snowflake off before stamping onto this panel. And I just want to stamp a few times around the sentiment. Yeah, that looks pretty. And I'll set this aside for a second. And while I have the ink and the snowflake out, I'll go ahead and stamp the envelope as well. And I don't know if you can see this, but look at the ring of ink. If I continued stamping with this, I would surely get a halo when I tried to stamp the snowflake again. So I am going to clean this off and get rid of some of that excess ink, because it just and when you clean your stamp with, you know, that sponge is wet, I caution you when you re-ink it, and look, I just got another halo. When you re-ink it, stamp on a scrap piece of paper first, because sometimes the water will actually, see, wow, I don't know why I'm not pressing hard. Okay, let's try to do this and not muck it up. But I'm just going to second generation stamp some snowflakes here in the corner of the envelope front. And then I'm going to turn that around and I'm going to stamp some snowflakes on the envelope flap. And I'm still second generation stamping. Boy, I really can't talk today. Oh, I know, Mary. I love the Orchid Oasis. It is by far, I think, my favorite color. Okay. I would call it Periwinkle. I know Stampin' Up! Calls it Orchid Oasis, and that fits too. But I just, as soon as I saw the color, I'm like, oh, my favorite, Periwinkle. Anyway, okay, so our envelope is done. The outside panel is done. Now, let's move on to our sentiment label. So we already stamped the sentiment for the front of the card, and this is a little 1" by 3" piece of cardstock, white cardstock. And this is the, I always forget the name, this is the Very Best Trio Punch, and it has a rather fancy corner here on this punch, and that's the one I'm going to use, the fancy corner. And so I'm going to just slide my label, so I've got it face up, right? And I'm working on the short end. I'm going to slide it in here to the punch, make sure it's flush, press that down. Now you can see I've got a partial corner there. Now I'm going to flip my label over, same end, flip it over, because I want the design to be symmetrical. And I'm going to stamp the other end, and so it gives me this kind of little fancy end here. Now I'm going to repeat that for the other short end of the sentiment label. And flip it over. Okay, and I'm all done with the punch there. So you can see we've kind of got these two little pointy ends, which look okay. I actually like it, but I'm cutting them off. I just want the curved section here on the sentiment label. So I'm just going to go ahead and take my paper snips and trim that off even. And flip it around here and do the other side. Okay. And now we can adhere this. I have cut a mat in Orchid Oasis for the sentiment label. And that measures, I think, that looks about 2 5/8 maybe, by 1 1/8. I think that's what the measurement is. But I liked the look of the blue peeking out around those curved edges that the punch created. I just thought it was something different. Yeah, I'm like, what am I doing here? All right. Get this glued up. Yep, sticking to my finger. And again, I'm a big fan of the glue because it gives you a second to make sure that you've got everything even on all sides, and that looks pretty good. All right, that looks good. We are going to go ahead and adhere our sentiment label. Whoops. I may be running over just a tad today. I think I talk too much. You can let me know, do I talk too much? All right. Go ahead and get our sentiment label on the center panel of our card base. And I want to get this label about centered from right to left, but also about a 1/4 inch from the bottom edge. And you can see that it pretty much comes right underneath that snowflake. There we go. And now I am going to get a length. This is Orchid Oasis metallic woven ribbon, and I'm just going to cut 2 lengths here. I'm going to tie a double bow, and we will adhere that just underneath of our snowflake. Okay. And I'm just separating my loops here on my double bow. They kind of don't want to stay apart, but do our best here. And I'm going to go ahead and attach that with a mini glue dot, and then I'll come back and trim those ends up. And let's put it, I'm doubling that mini glue dot over since this is thin ribbon. And I'm going to put it right there. And we could go ahead and trim our ends. Actually, I may need to move that up just a tad. I'm going to, and hope that I don't rip my sentiment label. Boy, that glue dot really wanted to stick. I'm going to move it up just a tad more here. Okay, there is our bow. And the only thing we have left to do is to adhere our panel on the back of the card. And make sure I'm putting it right side up. Oops. Okay. And so that completes our card, and I did want to show you. So this card can collapse either to the right or to the left, either direction, and it will nicely fit into a standard envelope, you know, and then when the recipient takes it out, they'll have a nice little card to stand up and display. So that is my card today. I hope you enjoyed it. And don't forget tomorrow, December 1st, for the last chance product sale, or promotion rather, and the clearance rack refresh starts tomorrow as well. So take advantage of that. Grab some gifts for yourself. Thank you, Rosie, appreciate it. And I will talk to you next week. Have a fabulous week and take care. Bye-bye.